Hey everyone, this is Saeed. Welcome to Messy Growth. So today's guest is Abby Heeman, and she's got one of those career stories that doesn't actually fit the typical tech playbook. She's an American from Arkansas, journalism degree, and in 2012, same year as she moved to Gdansk, Poland, and started at GetResponse as a customer support specialist. Here's the fun part. Over the next decade, she climbed from support to community specialist to product marketing manager to director to global marketing director. That's about full 12 years at a company in a country that wasn't even hers. But something interesting happened. In 2021, she left for CourseDog, a US-based ed tech startup, where she built the product marketing function from scratch, created an entirely new category called academic operations. We'll get to that in just a minute. 2 years later, she went back to GetResponse as director of product marketing, then got promoted to global marketing officer, and then she left again recently, and that's where we are now. So we've got someone who spent over a decade at a company, left, came back, got promoted, then walked away. There's a story here about loyalty, ambition, actually what matters in a career, and knowing when it's time to move on. So today we're going to be talking about what it takes to stay somewhere for 12 years, what makes you leave twice, what's next when you already climbed the ladder at a place you helped to build. Abby, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think Messy Growth is such a wonderful name of this podcast and definitely what I'm seeing
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
lot of that trajectory. Yeah.
The fun part is that a lot of times you look at people's CV and LinkedIn profiles, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to hire a lot of people, and you look at it, it
Yeah.
just tell the story. But the
Yeah.
truth is that it's very seldom clean. It's usually very messy. There is a
Yeah.
lot of stories behind it. So that was kind of like the
Yeah.
inception point of all this. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about you. You spent over a decade building your career in Gdansk, in Poland, and now you're back
Yeah.
home. How does that
Yeah.
feel?
Weird, good, stabilizing, but also completely foreign, which is funny. I'm actually back home in Arkansas right now, but I feel quite foreign here. My entire professional identity was built and developed in Poland. I have no professional experience actually being
Yeah,
physically located in the United States. So
yeah.
I do feel like a foreigner finally.
How weird is
And
that,
I
right?
didn't
That
feel like it's
yeah,
weird.
yeah. Well, what do folks think about when they hear you went to Poland to work? Do they understand what you did, or is it for them more like, she did something, something?
It's totally what like the latter. They're like, there's no like conception point for what that was.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I feel foreign is because, there's 12 years or more of my life that is so unknowable to
Hmm.
my immediate, new community that's here that they have no
Yeah.
concept of what that must have been like or feel like. So
Hmm.
what I've been combating a lot since I've been back only very recently is
Yeah.
this. Was that real? Was that actually my reality or was it like a
Yeah.
fever dream for a decade? But it
Yeah.
was real.
Yeah. 100%. So I moved to Poland when I was 18. I got married
Wow.
here, had kids, and roughly the same amount of time you've lived here. So I'm as Polish as you are. But I cannot imagine moving away, like especially
Yeah.
stateside. I cannot imagine going back home because I think
Yeah.
I will lose my marble. I can't do it. This is for me. I'm so used to the culture,
Totally.
the people. But kudos. I mean, you
Yeah.
did it. Like I said, I think on our pre-interview, I would love to have you back here in Poland someday. And
Totally.
hoping
Yeah.
it's in
The
the
door is
cards.
not shut.
But
For
of
sure.
course,
The
it
door
never
is
is.
not shut on Poland or Europe at all. I'm here right now for like a stabilizing, quiet
Right
moment
on.
so I can be
Yeah.
really thoughtful about what's
Yeah.
next. And I love having my
Yeah.
foundations here, my, community, my
Yeah.
family, so I can be thoughtful and,
Yeah.
patient with what's going
Yeah.
to be next for me.
It's funny what you're saying because me and my wife, we have this thing. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with it's a concept of shucking a million oysters. So down in Louisiana,
Uh-uh.
a lot of folks actually go there for seasonal jobs, and what they're doing is
Yeah.
they get these job of shucking oysters, and
Yeah.
essentially the premise is that's your purgatory. If you need a downtime and you just need to get
Yeah.
away from this, you're going ahead and shucking your oysters. So right now, I kind of feel
Yeah.
like that at times in my career. I've done that. Reset,
Totally.
shucking a million oysters, and you're
I
back into the
love
game.
that. And I've never done that in this,
Mm.
the entire career trajectory. It's always been jump, jump, jump to the next promotion
Mm.
or role or organization. And this is the first time. And I feel like I was kind of pushed into this because we'll get to that a little bit on my
Sure.
how do you stay at one company for 12 years. And like, I'm so loyal and
Yeah.
sometimes a bit to a fault
To a fault. Yeah.
in that I'm not particularly loyal to myself. I'm loyal to others
Yeah.
or, a company before myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's wonderful. I'm actually shucking oysters and I'm actually working a little bit. My aunt has owned a business here for like 40
Oh,
years,
right on.
uh, pet grooming and boarding. And I'm actually going there
Yeah.
and doing shift work
Oh, yeah.
just to have something physical with my hands to
Yeah.
do. That's not just this brain computer work. I'm like picking up dogs and taking them outside
Yeah.
and balancing the other things I'm doing that are more my brain work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much of your story that resonates because in June of this year, I also left the company that I worked for a long period of time, years.
Yeah.
We got acquired by private equity. I wanted to exit out. I got into an accident. And I was like,
Mm,
I'm done. I'm out. I've,
yeah.
sacrificed my health, my family way too much.
Totally.
And I now pick up the kids from school, drop them off
Nice.
to school, and I have a piece of land where I'm fishing and,
Oh,
cutting
that's
grass.
awesome.
And it's
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, right? Things that you've never thought you would do before, but you're doing it
Yeah.
because, like you said, you're shucking your oysters, and everybody's
Yeah.
got to shuck them at some point.
Totally.
But it's
You're not
very,
exempt from that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
let's dig into it. So,
Totally.
fascinating story. I love it. You spent almost 9 years at GetResponse, and the first time you joined, climbed from customer
Yeah.
success to global marketing director. What made you leave for CoreStore, and what
Yeah.
did that transition teach you about what you actually wanted from your career?
Totally. This was such a pivotal time in my life, in my career in particular, because if I'm honest with you, I was completely overcome with self-doubt. My
Mm,
only professional identity and professional experience was at GetResponse.
mm,
I, as you said, moved in 2012. I had just finished my MBA. So I did pivot from journalism to then get my master's in business just because I thought, I don't know if journalism is really going to end up paying the
yeah.
bills. So I better add another degree on top, which I am grateful I did. But I had no professional experience working. And so I thought, am I good or am I only good here at GetResponse? And so I was just consumed with self-doubt and not having worked at a different company. And so thankfully at that time, the founder of CoreStalk at that time reached out on LinkedIn and it was just the right time for me. And another thing that drove me was that I knew at my level there at GetResponse that there was nowhere else for me to go
Right.
up, like
Ceiling.
unless I wanted to report to the C-suite.
Mm,
And I didn't want to do that because I was scared to do that. I thought, I can't do that. So I have to leave because I can't go up because then I have to report to C-suite and that scares me. But then I left and started reporting directly to a founder of a company, building up product marketing. So really what fueled me was self-doubt. But then what I saw was actually a passion for what I love and am really good at doing,
yeah.
which is building up that baseline positioning strategy for a mission-driven organization. So that's where I just got completely amped, motivated, loved working really long hours because I believed in the company and what they were trying to do for higher education. And I saw that, hey, I'm actually good at this. I'm good at building up the strategy from a lot of kind of disconnected, noisy pieces.
Yeah.
So that was, huge, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Talk to me about the fear of answering to C-level execs. What is it about that
Yeah.
scares you?
It was just, I thought, I don't have enough like business acumen to be able to talk to them. I didn't feel I had enough exposure to like the realities of running a business, even just the vocabulary of what it is that they care about in terms of like the impact that product marketing or marketing is having. So I really think it was just more a fear of the unknown and not having exposure to that level of insight to what motivates and drives them that kept me from that.
Mm,
But I think what helped me with that was exiting, starting to speak with the founder on a day-to-day basis. I learned what got him ticking about his business, but also I was interviewing tons of high-level administrators. They were at universities, of course, so not like SaaS, B2B tech, but still they were business folks running universities. And so I just got more exposure to what's really like upper level executives, what motivates and drives them and their goals. And I thought, oh, these people aren't so scary. I can talk to them. They're just humans. But now I know what they care about, so I can navigate this.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that slayed the beat for me a bit
100%.
in that
Yeah.
regard. Yeah.
But it's tough though. I think like answering directly to C-level exec or even a founder at a large company such as GetResponse, I think it'd be pretty scary because I think we as humans tend to put a lot of weight with people with fancy titles.
Yeah.
But they're also just people, and
They're people.
they bring a lot of power with them. So you might not even
Totally.
agree with them, but you kind of have to agree with them because they're the ones cutting the paychecks. I fully understand the
Yeah.
fear
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So you're back now in Arkansas. How long were you wrestling with the decision to move back before you actually did it? Was there a
Yeah.
conversation or a moment that kind of felt like that it tipped the scale for me? I want to go back home.
Yeah. Honestly, it's been probably for close to a year of just kind of knowing that I was not where I needed to be, uh, professionally, personally, inside of myself. I saw myself making a lot of short-term decisions out of pure exhaustion. I was not
Yeah.
had no clarity on what I wanted the next month to look like, let alone the next year or 5 years. And I could see I was just completely run down and exhausted. And what I was craving was just the security of my home, of a familiar place, which is actually less familiar in some regards than Poland, where I've lived for so long, but where there was just this ease and comfort of
Yeah.
being closer to my family and to a larger support system than I had where I, was previously living in Poland. And that just kind of tipped the scales for me to, hey, the year is ending. Let's go home and slow this down. Uh,
Yeah.
Spend time with your family, and let's just get really like introspective about what it is I want for
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
decade of my career and my life. Yeah,
100%. So moving
yeah.
back to the US from an international role, what's been surprisingly hard about that transition that you did not expect when you were flying out?
It's really, I think I knew to expect it though, is that I don't have a professional community here. I have a large professional community in Poland. This is where my career was based. But here, I don't. I'm going to have to be brave and build this from scratch. And I don't, work in an office right now, right? So that was how I was used to building my community back,
Right.
pre-COVID when GetResponse, we were all physically in the office together. And that's where I really built my relationships. So now I'm going to have to step out of my comfort zone and reach out to folks, actually go to, networking events or other scenarios where I can actually physically meet people. Because at this point, I'm not in an office. But I think I knew to expect that. But just the
Yeah.
reality of, Abby, you have no professional contacts here.
Yeah.
You're going to have to remedy that.
I'm curious, does Arkansas have a large tech community?
They do, in particular, in this Northwest Arkansas area where I'm based. This is the hub and HQ for Walmart. So
Oh, right on.
Walmart is like the primary employer of this region. There's like Tyson Foods as well. There's a lot of
Mm,
shipping. So
yeah.
there is actually, in particular, in Northwest Arkansas, quite a robust like talent, but it is centralized around. It's like a company town,
Fair enough.
basically for
Fair
Walmart.
enough.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Talking about your career, you describe yourself as someone who is customer first and product obsessed. Can you give me an example where
yeah.
those two things were in direct conflict with each other and how do you resolve it?
Like, all the time, forever. But I think what I was thinking about in thinking about this question was, so many times sales and marketing, 90% of my experiences are gold on new customer acquisition, on
Yes.
bringing new revenue to the company. And then there's a different unit that is responsible for, retention and success,
Sure.
expansion of those customers. And that is immediate conflict between, and the customers are at their center of that on where do we prioritize roadmap and engineering space for these customers that are paying our bills and that are, already activated and loyal for us, or all of this time and money spent on acquisition. And I've always been in marketing, so I'm always focusing on bringing new customers and spending those marketing dollars to get new customers. So there's this clash between activation of new customers and them seeing success on the product, but also the retention of those most loyal customers who are going deep. And so a good example of that is the constant negotiations that I'm having to do as trying to be a comprehensive marketing leader, though, that wants to bring customers in new revenue
Right.
that stays with the company and actually expands. And so that's where I had to do a lot of negotiation with the, top level product folks to be able to show the payoff of prioritization of some early activation roadmap areas that help folks have an easier time getting started and why that's going to pay off for us in terms of revenue expansion and why I don't want to fill the roadmap up for this next year only with these really deep use cases for like product enhancements that are way down in the user lifecycle. So that's constant. That's
Yeah.
not just like a one project example. That's like depending on what the company's product development schedule is, but every quarter there's that fight because in marketing, as I said, we're gold on new revenue, but you're also looked at if all of that new revenue churns in the first 30, 60, 90
Right.
days because you're bringing in, non-good fit customers. So I'm also responsible for those folks having success. So that's the constant push-pull of the roadmap and balancing new activation and folks actually being able to expand and stay with the company.
Yeah, folks, I don't think understand and realize how difficult that is because you can't, when you're looking at a customer acquisition, maybe you can focus a lot on the left hand of this side of the bow tie, but you also, in this particular role, got to focus on the right hand side of the bow tie,
Totally.
which is a nightmare.
Totally.
To be able
Yeah.
to do it
Yeah.
justice in any way, shape, or especially for a company like GetResponse, that is
Yeah.
massive. Like it's huge.
Yeah, yeah. I felt really torn a lot
Mm.
between the, official goal that I have for, new sales revenue, new customers, but also making sure that the existing customers, the one who pay our bills and are loyal to this company, are also getting served and not forgotten. So that's a constant tension that has to exist. And ideally, the leaders that are sitting in these core functions like marketing and sales and product and success are quite aligned on that we need each other to do a good job and we don't just fight for our own corner because that's when it just becomes a bummer when everybody's just
100%.
protecting their own corner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's got to be on the same rowing on the same side. Otherwise, it all
totally.
falls apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah,
Talking about that, most product marketers struggle to prove impact. I mean, you're obviously in a
yeah,
good position that you had a lot of impact. You mentioned KPIs like, win rate, critical for
yeah,
acquisition, AOV, and time to win. What's one metric you tracked that kind of felt
yeah,
like that you actually changed how your executive team made decisions?
yeah. And I'll use the course dog example for that because selling into higher education, a public entity most of the time is not easy, nor is it fast. And so, I mean, it can take like, 6 months is a good time to win often when it comes to those sales cycles. And so that was one where we did actually start a really heavy segmentation of the customers when we started building out our like ICP prioritization tiers of where do we have like good size contracts, but also these deals move. There is energy in these deals, and these folks are able to get things, progressing through the pipeline stages. And then how does that impact our go to market? So I got really interested in time to win whenever building out the segmentation um, and the go to market strategy once we had our positioning in place, because that totally moves the needle in a given quarter or a year, especially whenever you're a startup and you have a funded startup, and you have a lot of expectations on needing to know how particular quarters and financial years are going to end, because that's going to impact a lot of your growth goals when it comes to your next funding rounds and whatever,
Yeah.
is going on with you. And so that helped us be able to see some level of like reliability, for lack of a better word, in terms of when is this money going to come in? Because you can't tell
Yeah.
a lot of investors that, yeah, we've got this pipeline and it's probably going to close in 2 years, like get a grip. So we knew we had to filter in enough of those speedier deals into various quarters. So it was reliable money that we knew would be actually coming into the company as closed won. And then it just tells us, okay, cool. So here's what it takes to get the attention of those like faster, winnable deals. And then how do we enable reps to actually better enable the buyers to progress during that ideal time to win that we're targeting for? So that's just for me fun. It's
Yeah.
fun to segment pipeline. I hate looking at the whole pipeline as one entity because it tells me absolutely nothing about the deals. So it's actually segmenting those deals and analyzing what about them is, you know, like actionable in terms of, smaller groups is what's really exciting, because then you can make decisions and enable reps or do a marketing activity that has a direct impact. So that's what's the most important, is don't look at the whole pie. You've got to cut it into pieces, and then you can actually
Yeah.
make decisions that actually have an impact on the progression of those deals, and there's your impact. So that's what was fun.
If anybody from RevOps is listening to this, I think they should be making notes because I think you hit the nail on the head here. Talking about segmentation, you've worked across both PLG, so product-led growth, and enterprise
Yeah.
sales motions.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is the biggest misconception people have about translating product marketing between those two different models?
Yeah. I think there's an oversimplification of thinking like at some point product marketing is just, depending on your industry or your product, is just, emailing customers about what's going on. And then somehow the information of that email making their way to the in pipeline deals, that it's just like an information outpouring, like output unit of just like, here's what our product is doing. And if you're a lead and a prospect, you're going to care about it. And if you're an existing customer or a free version customer, you're also going to be amazed by this new feature and upgrade to,
Yeah.
a paid version, or contact the rep that you've been ghosting for a month and be excited to get this deal back because this new exciting feature is launched, which is bananas. Of course, nobody cares about your company or product at all, really, unless you're, one of these top ultimate, like Lovable or somebody else that's really like catching attention right now, because they don't care. They're doing their jobs and they're busy with other things. And so what I started to see, the thing for us to focus on in product marketing with the PLG and self-service is reduce friction, make it easy. They want to try your product and they would like to try it for free. Don't put roadblocks in front of them to get access to what it is that drives value from your experience. Make it easy for them.
Yeah.
And on the enterprise side, it's about, in my opinion, reducing risk. This is a representative of a company putting themselves forward, which is very risky to say, hey, look at this product. I think it's going to do X, Y, Z for us.
Yeah.
They're in an extremely risky position on your behalf. So it's your responsibility to reduce the risk for that, like champion, as we like to say. So that's the big thing. I think product marketing is responsible for doing.
I'm actually curious. You mentioned Lovable. Have you tried Lovable? Have you used it in the past?
I have. I've played a bit with it as well. Like, there's a lot of really cool use cases. And I saw Elena Verna, who is their, head of growth and the best at everything that she touches. There's a new thing that they're coming out with as well, where they've got like missions, they're calling it. I think she just announced that today, where there's like some pre-built scenarios of just like what folks are seeing success with like course builders or like, CRM edition. So there's a lot of things they're doing to make it even easier. So I have played around with it, but I haven't launched like an app yet or anything.
If you were to, just doing a sidebar here, if you were to put your marketing hat on right now, do you think they're suffering with a big or a major churn problem?
I mean, probably, yes. I'm a great example. I think everybody wants to try, but I think they know that, but then they're leveraging and banking on the fact that because we now know them first in our brain, Lovable, and we tried it and we haven't gone back yet. It's mainly because I just didn't have a big idea. But whenever I do get a big idea, because I probably will at some point, that's where I'm going to go back first. So I think, Elena's a genius. So I think they know that. They want more exposure for everybody to get it. It's like, when Microsoft or whoever it was to give all college students, free access to their like word processing tools. Yeah, it was Microsoft. So like, they're not going to immediately graduate from college and buy a subscription, but eventually they will. They're going to need to. So I think that could be the game there. Because when I do have an idea, Lovable is where I'm going to go because I already know the brand name. And I think that's why everybody's talking about now brand is back, because feature parity is gone. It's been pretty much gone for a while, but now in particular it's gone. So now it's all about brand.
I'm going to cut this snippet and share it with Elena because she's going to be joining this show, I think sometime in 2026. So super excited about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. And,
huge. That's huge.
Cold messaged her and she was like, yeah, let's do it in 2026. That was huge. That's fantastic.
I read everything she puts out. Yeah.
Bananas her career. I mean, it's amazing how she's positioned herself. It's pretty interesting and inspiring to look at.
Yeah. Totally.
I want to talk about something with GetResponse. You led a team of marketers at GetResponse. That's towards the tail end of your career there.
Yeah.
Was there something you did as a leader that you wish your past managers had done for you?
What I'll say that I actively tried to do and what felt really important to do was be as honest and transparent with the teams as I could about why we were doing particular things. Obviously, once you reach a particular level of leadership and management, you have to be protective a bit of the company. You can't just like spill your guts about everything that's going on. But I did want to be as honest as I could and not just give directives without being real with them, as real as I could about why we're doing this and what we expect to happen from it. And obviously I would transition when I was doing public group announcements to still be as transparent and humble as possible about what we're doing and why. And then to have as many one-on-ones as possible during kind of bigger changes to let them talk to me and me be quiet and let them ask them, how do you feel about this change? Like, what do you feel about this decision, this strategy, and listen to them and then navigate that. Because once people feel heard and feel respected as adults about what's going on with, the company that they're working at and giving all that time, it made things a lot easier, and it helped the team, I think, trust me a lot more, which just makes it easier to
Mm.
get things done.
Yeah, what you're describing is exactly how I think every manager should tackle changes at a certain level of the company. It's gonna happen. Doesn't it
Yeah.
take a toll though on your own self?
Yeah. It definitely does. And that was, yes, I'd say the last 18 months of my professional life have
Mm,
been a toll. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. And that was where, again, this mention of me needing to kind of reprioritize myself and be loyal to myself is me giving not just to the company, but to my team.
mm,
Me, sacrificing myself and my well being because I've got 30 odd people who are also looking to me for clarity and direction and
yeah.
security and safety, reassurance, which I felt highly responsible for giving and did everything I could to do it. But it was time to give that back to myself
Yeah, yeah,
at this point.
100%. What do
Yeah.
you say what do
Yeah.
you say to someone who is watching this and is in a somewhat similar position to what you were a few months ago? What do you say to them? Is there a piece of advice and blueprint? Because I kind of feel like that the higher the ladder you climb, the more blurry the lines become, and there's not a lot, frankly, that you can do or talk to someone about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I would say the thing that I would do again that I did for myself was create enough of a, let's just say, financial cushion in the way that I lived my life to be able to take this step back when it was obvious it was time for me to like reevaluate what I want next. That's something I would highly recommend and would do again for myself to give myself that level of security. If you start already thinking, I think this is not quite right for me, go ahead and start making a few cuts in your life or add a little something else in so you can build yourself a cushion to take a break and evaluate because you're not going to be able to in the chaos of whatever you're going through, most likely make really good long-term decisions
Mm,
about what you want. And so you need to set yourself up for being able to step away and have some time and not immediately need the next new big thing, because then you'll never have the time. So
yeah.
I would do that again. What I would not do again is give all of myself away. So don't leave at the end of the day when you shut your laptop. You should ideally still have the mental capacity to speak to your partner, to
Ooh,
speak to friends. You
what are
should
those,
not be
Abby?
empty. I know. You should not be completely empty in your heart and soul and mind. And for way too long, when I shut my laptop at the end of the day, I was completely empty and had nothing left for myself or anyone else in the world because I gave it all to this computer box right here and the people that I was talking to. And that is just something I would say if you can put a stop to it before things get really tough, you ought to. And it's what I didn't do. And it's something I won't do again.
Note to self, eat ramen, save money, and shut your
It's
laptop.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Perfect. I
exactly.
want to stay on that topic for just a little bit more and talk about it. You said something that is extremely important that don't let yourself get to a point where you feel like that you're burning out and you just don't have any capacity left. How does one see the signs and make that decision? Because I would imagine in a position where you are a C-level exec or a VP, you you know what I call the golden handcuffs because your paychecks are very
Okay.
nice,
Yeah,
your job's pretty
yeah,
cushy, you've built over the course of 10, 11, 12 years certain level of rapport, certain level of reputation, you have shown that you can do the
yeah,
work. It's hard to think about your own self at that time because you're
yeah,
so inebriated with pretty much everything that is around you.
totally,
Like how does
totally.
one do that? Like
Yeah,
talking to ChatGPT is probably not the answer, but how does one accomplish that?
yeah. Because chat, he would, he, she, it will just hype you up, and like
Yeah, bro,
bring you
do
back, and you're like, no,
it.
no. I mean, what I've learned now, because I felt the same way, totally black and white. I can never turn down the volume or the speed because you're going to lose everything you've built, Abby. If you step away, it's gone. Everything that you've developed and learned, your, salary, your team size, if you slow down even for a second, everybody's going to notice and you're going to get dropped and you're going to be out of work, out of a home. I mean, I was just worst case scenario thinking my life if I slowed down or changed the way I was working. And that is a huge bummer and not a way anybody should live because you should have enough belief and respect in yourself that you got yourself there that it's still going to be there for you.
Wow.
Even if it's not at this company or this role, you should believe in yourself enough that as I, left GetResponse thinking, am I even good at my job? Because I've only worked here. Well, of course I was, because I knew what I was doing and had success at another organization. So I should believe in myself enough to say, yo, I don't have to like deplete myself completely for this job
Mm.
just to keep a roof over my head. That's a really, really low way of thinking about myself and a very lower order way of existing. And I think that you should believe in yourself enough because you've got yourself to that level to think,
Yeah.
yo, I don't have to completely
Yeah.
like end my like actual enjoyment of existence
Mm.
to keep a roof over my head. Um,
Yeah.
I believe in myself enough that good things are out there for me and I don't have to do it like this.
It reminds me of a quote, and I think at this particular podcast thingy, I have said that at least twice, and I'll say it again. My mom used to tell me something when I was very young, and it stuck with me that if a horse knew about its speed, lion about its power, and flower about its smell, the world would come to an end. And we as
Wow.
humans, we're walking this rock.
Yeah.
And a lot of the A players that you see, you talked about Elena Verne, I'm pretty sure when you start to diagnose those people and try to understand them, they have doubts. They don't feel like that
Yeah.
they're good enough. And
Yeah.
unfortunate part of working in companies and seeing that level of growth is that you start to attach your identity to the job, which
Yeah.
is probably the most shittiest thing you can do to yourself because God
Totally.
forbid that turns toxic, and it will. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You yourself, you don't have any kind of like sidebars to hold on to because you've just
Totally.
pretty much devoted your day life, your existence to not a
Yeah.
paycheck. I think that's summing it down
Yeah.
to a pretty small, selfless thing. It's
Yeah.
more about the company, but that's just a company at the end of the day, right? I mean, that they care
Totally.
about revenue.
Totally. And there's billions of companies. There are so
So
many
many. Yeah.
companies that exist and we can oscillate between. There's not just this one. And that's why I stayed for so long. I'm just loyal and I care and
Mm.
I want to believe that I can be a part of this next new chapter, this next new thing we're going to do. But that's me only thinking about them and
Yeah.
not at all myself. And so this is a time to be completely selfish
Yeah.
and don't just think about the company or even your team at some point. When you reach that point, you need to be incredibly selfish and self-absorbed, most likely because you're recovering from decades
Yeah.
of a complete abandonment of yourself and your goals and your values and what you want when you wake up in the morning to think,
Yeah.
I'm alive, thank goodness, and I'm excited to live this day, not, oh God, another
Yeah.
day. That's not a way to live. And I know that now.
Yeah. I'm going to say something very grim. What my wife told me actually right after I got into a pretty bad car crash because of my work and stresses and everything.
Mhm.
Um, she said, and I couldn't fathom leaving the company I used to work for. I mean, I was the
Yeah.
VP. People used to call me El Patron, like I was the dude right on the
Yeah.
ground. I couldn't imagine. And she said that, and I thought I was committing career suicide. And she said, career suicide is okay, considering if the alternative is suicide by career.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
crap. That's
That's
probably
so
right.
wise. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
It's
in
amazing she said
those
that.
moments because you said you're back home, you're surrounded by people you love and they love you. I think it's in those moments exactly you need the people that you can trust and
Yeah.
they or should be or always should be your number one priority, not a
Totally.
company, because that's just 8 hours a
Totally.
day, right?
Yeah. Because they're like, this job, Abby, you're Abby. You're a part of our family. You're this beloved person and human that we don't care what your job is and we don't understand it.
Who
And
cares?
we don't want to even hear about it.
Yeah.
You're your a whole thing on yours as yourself. I was like, God, it's so true. But I've lived away from my family and a larger support system for so long that my a lot of Poland really just became about my professional career and my life because,
Yeah.
I didn't have my family roots there. And so I was developing other things. Um, so it got my identity really messed up about who I am as an individual and as a human on this planet versus who I was professionally. So that's
Yeah.
why this reset is really helpful for me to remember that I am a human myself.
Yeah, I think like a lot of folks don't even understand and realize the pressures that come with the fact that you're an immigrant, expat, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Um, in a different country trying to build a career, and you're here, but you don't have a family. You don't
Yeah,
understand all the nuances. The language is pretty tough. It is
totally.
taxing, man. Like, it's just taxing.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you know,
Existence is taxing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I thought there, and so I was just leaning into the fact that, well, maybe just everything is supposed to be really hard for me. Forcing this career, this existence,
Shucking a
maybe
million
that's
oysters.
just, yeah, this, I'm supposed to just, everything's always supposed to be really hard, Abby. Well,
Mm,
no, that's a lie.
so,
Doesn't have to be and
yeah,
ought not be that
yeah,
hard to
yeah,
exist.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know we wanted to talk about marketing, but I think this is such a great conversation, and I'm enjoying it
Sure.
so much. I do want to talk about the fact that you did move from Arkansas to Poland. You built a
Yeah.
career at a European tech company.
Yeah.
What's something about building a marketing career in Europe that really surprised you, good or bad?
Yeah. And as I said, I didn't have professional experience in the US, but
Yep.
I had never traveled internationally before. Like when I moved to Poland after school, I had only been like to Mexico one time. I had never been outside of the
Oh,
country.
right on.
And so I was completely naive, completely just unopen, like ready to just like receive what the world and what Poland had to offer. Which I think is great. I'm glad I didn't have any misconceptions or things I was comparing the Polish way of doing business to.
Right.
Because then you just constantly like, hey, we don't do it like this. I was just fresh and like, okay, this is how
Not
we do it, I
tainted.
guess.
Mm.
Yeah, I wasn't tainted at all. But what I feel was really excellent for my own development was just access to a very diverse and international group of colleagues because it wasn't just colleagues from Poland that were working at GetResponse. It was a very international company and still is. And that gave me so much access to figuring out how to work with lots of different types of people to get stuff done, how to build consensus, which is so much of what you do in a larger company is this internal marketing and alignment. I mean, that's, I would say, like 90% of the job at some point with different types of cultures, people who were just different. And I learned so quickly, don't take things personally. This is a professional environment. Who cares about the tone of the, Slack message or whatever it is? And so I really detached very quickly from this, like taking things personally and not understanding and just focused on getting stuff done because I would have never gotten anything done because everybody's so different in the way they communicate across different cultures. So that was just, I think, a level up for me where other folks I've seen that have like a larger professional experience in the US and then tried to integrate, for example, into GetResponse or other companies, they struggled. They really could not detach from the US way of doing things to the like GetResponse international way of doing things. And I was grateful I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. I think it took me the longest time to understand that you don't have to say, "Hey, man, how's it going?" on every Slack you send out. You just get to the question. And
Loved it. Yeah,
like, okay,
I
that's
loved
good.
that.
To direct this, that's okay. Takes getting used to, but I
True.
prefer that over anything.
Totally.
I was looking through your LinkedIn. You have an incredibly diverse background: journalism, technical writing, customer support. Which one of these
Yeah.
past roles influences your product marketing work in ways people wouldn't really expect?
Yeah. And I think I never thought journalism was going to play a part,
Mm,
really. But so much of what good product marketing is asking the right questions and then be
yeah,
able to synthesize that information in a way that is, the right information for the audience that you're delivering it to. And that was so much of my training and experience throughout my collegiate career. And that's critical because if you were asking, go through this big product marketing positioning work or prep for a big feature launch, if you're asking the wrong questions, you're dead in the water. You don't have the insights or information that you need from the people that you're there to get it from. So the ability to figure out how to ask the right questions, I think, is really what shaped my ability to have success in product marketing because I think that's hard to learn on your
yeah,
own because it's hard to be thoughtful at the beginning. When you have such a big project ahead of you, like a big positioning work, it's so much for people to take on that I can tell that sometimes the actual question interview process is like completely like they might delegate it to another team. Like if you've got a UX team, you're like, just delegate that to them. And you're not being thoughtful about what it is we need to get from these people. And the UX team don't own the project. So they're not going to also think about it as thoughtfully, potentially as well.
mm.
Though, of course, not no shade on UX folks, obviously,
You
but
heard it here.
that's that. Yeah. But that's where I think that helped me actually have success. And then going through and actually, this was when phone support was still highly active when I
Mm.
first started being a customer support specialist, having to answer the phone when people called for questions or issues and being yelled at by customers. I was thinking like, what am I doing? This sucks. But also I learned the product. That's where that like whole, product obsessed, because I knew the product like the back of my hand, because
Yeah.
there's nothing like a pissed off customer on the phone who can't get something done for you to figure shit out on your own.
Mm.
And then your customer, like first, because you've got customers calling and yelling at you, and you don't want them to yell at you. You want them to have good experiences.
Mm.
So that all just like glommed together to be able to then scale those ideas that I had about the product into a product marketing role. Which is cool. And all those pieces end up fitting together to be something that really worked for me, and
Yeah.
actually be able to kind of carve out my own niche for
No.
product marketing and GetResponse.
Right on. So you've been in
Yeah.
marketing automation slash email marketing for over a decade. The space has changed dramatically. I mean, especially because
Yeah.
of the introduction of AI. What's something everybody thinks is new in marketing that you've actually seen fail before in a different form?
Well, I mean, everybody talks about, AI slop right now. And I think there is,
It's
especially
everywhere.
for cold outbound emailing, I think there's a lot of this coming with the increased capabilities, so to speak, of being able to automate more touch points
Mm.
within like a sales cycle. And so that's something I think that's like coming back around again from like when automations first came about, like,
Full circle.
12 years ago. And now we're like, oh my God, we can automate everything. Well, it's just slop because it's way too much. And it's not, you may have also a lot of really good like personal data points about your subscriber or customer that you didn't have before, thanks now to AI capabilities that give you more data, which is good. But if you're not being smart about when you contextually use that data based on what's actually going on with your subscriber or customer, then it is just slop and it's noise. And so I think that there's a little bit, again, of that resurgence of automating and like over automating things, thinking you're being totally personal and doing like the best personalization because I've got more data than ever and more automation touch points. But so does everybody else now as well. So everybody's just flooded across every channel with more from you. But what's actually interesting or eye catching or different or risky about what it is that you're doing to get them to want to open that email? So I
Yeah.
think that we're now just in that over automation push where there's just too much noise. And this is like where that concept of brand and other things come back in is how can you be more relevant and interesting than your competitors? Because as we said, feature parity
Yeah.
is gone. Nobody cares. It's what will make your brand memorable, either because of what you stand for, the clarity of who you're for, the reliability and consistency that you're able to deliver. And you need to pick as a brand which one you're going to be aiming for. So people actually remember and open what ideally becomes not slop
Mm.
from you. Yeah.
There's just so much of this out there. It kind of like I want to tie it back to a little bit in sales. Salespeople have this tendency when they're talking to prospects is that they keep talking. And what they don't understand is that you don't have to talk. You could just shut it and
Yeah.
let the person speak and they will guide you through things. And
Yeah.
answer almost always is never more. Sometimes less is more in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I know it's cliche as it may sound, but it's not about the number of emails. Like you said, it's about the data points that you have. Use them, send out one or two good targeted emails. Doesn't mean you
Yeah.
shouldn't do outbound or shouldn't do email marketing.
Yeah.
Just don't send 14 emails when somebody signs up for a trial. For
Yeah.
Christ's sakes, that's way too much. That's
Yeah.
abusing the system.
Totally. Totally. And I think it's a wonderful parallel to like a person in a sales call that's just blabbing on, going through their script and like obviously like annoyed at having to listen to the prospect because they're like bored and it's taking too long and they don't know if they're going to buy. And it's the same thing with like marketers or whoever's responsible for those 14 emails. Here's all the shit about us. And they're like overwhelmed and like, this has nothing to do with me and everything to do about what y'all are trying to get me to do. And I just think like the universe and karma and whatever makes it so you won't find success with that. You will find some quick short-term wins with those tactics for people that are like, fine, whatever. Okay, I'll buy your product because you were so
My
pushy. And
Lord.
yeah, okay, just like to stop. And then, yeah, magically, when you buy the product, it's gone. All the emails and everything, you're left alone because you did that thing. But that's just so short-term thinking. That's thinking month by month. And I just think that's not going to have long-term success
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
in any reality. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think any
Yeah.
company that is extremely transactional in SaaS today does not have a future. I can guarantee you that much. It's like
Yeah.
Yellow Books or Yellow Pages, excuse me. Thinking in the future that they're always going to be there. It's just they're
Yeah.
ancients walking through. If they think
Yeah.
if you can just be transactional, it's all about the money and screw the customer.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, karma, the universe has a funny
Yeah.
way of balancing itself out.
Totally.
Um,
Totally.
there,
Yeah.
there's
So it works itself out. I do. It's just again where I'm starting to think about and prioritize what type of organizations do I want to give my incredibly valuable time to, and the way in which we're going to be communicating
yeah,
and working and valuing the clients.
it's so important what you're saying, and I wish more people would hear this message and candidates when they're interviewing at different companies. It is not about the fact that the company's interviewing you. You
Yeah.
also are the one interviewing the company. And it's a
Yeah.
small shift in your head once you make that
Yeah.
and you feel like that you're the asset, things really start to change.
Yeah.
Your whole demeanor changes when you're actually talking to people because you feel that
Totally.
confidence coming through,
Totally. Yeah.
which I think is pretty
Yeah.
critical.
Definitely.
One more thing about GetResponse, and we'll move away from that. GetResponse, fascinating company, competes in an incredibly crowded space. How do you think about differentiation when there are 50 plus email marketing platforms that essentially, I'm sorry, do the same exact thing?
Totally. Do the same things, do some things better, some things
Sure.
worse, right? And that's what we talked about with that such a crowded space, so highly commoditized. Why should anybody care about this company? Why should they care about this product? Why should they want to use this product? And that's where you cannot distill on these features, these things that are going to become, non-existent in
Right.
terms of value or uniqueness in an instant. So distill, get back to the customers that are still paying you and using your product successfully, and just talk to them. Talk to them on a regular basis. Why are you still paying us money? Why are you using this product? Why do you care? Do you tell anybody? So this is this exercise that cannot stop. And that's why I'd always tell the folks in product marketing, if you can be the one who has the freshest and most in-depth insights about our most valuable customers, you are untouchable. Everybody wants to talk to you. Sales, product, executives, success. If you are able to build relationships with the folks within the core segment, your like ICP customers, the ones that are the most successful, and actually build your own champions there and talk to them, you're untouchable, because that's the like secret sauce or whatever for why you're still in business and what you need to build upon to help keep in business to actually attract more folks similar to them. And that's where it's so frustrating, because I always just thought marketing is so hard, it's so complex and all these channels, but it's actually not that big of a deal. Talk to these people that are paying your bills and using your product successfully and having success, and just understand how they found you, why they're still using you, what they need to keep using you, and then get that information across internally to the right people, and then externally where those folks hang out. Not actually that complicated, but I feel like so many of these platforms and channels are made to seem complicated so that we pay them more money, like the ad platforms and social media platforms. It's like, no, 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 y'all don't need to worry about that. Just give us, 75% of your marketing budget and don't worry about it.
Mm.
We'll handle it under the back end with like the ad tooling and like the, automated descriptions and images. No, 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 that's too complicated for you guys. You don't need to know how to do that. Just give us the money and we promise it's going to work out. And we give away with like this shadowy, like SEO tools and like, ad platforms, that it's so complicated, you dumb marketer, you don't know what you're doing. So give us all of this cash and we'll automate it for you. But I just think if we distill it down and we know in our heads who it is we're going after and where they hang out, you should take control of those, especially if you're in a relatively small organization. Obviously, if you worked for Adobe or Cisco, things are, working at a scale that's untouchable. But if you're at a startup or relatively small company, you can do this. You can figure out whatever platforms and channels you need to get the right message out, to get it in front of the people that you know are looking for your stuff. So
Mm.
that's just what's the most important. And don't leverage it on some nonsense about some new feature that you're launching that they're going to care about, because they're not, especially for those hardcore users. If you're launching stuff that is nonsense for them and you talk to them about what's coming and they're like, this is dumb, we would never need or want this, then you got to be brave and put your big girl pants on and go talk to somebody at
Mm.
the C-suite or product leadership to go, guys, this is not it. Y'all didn't talk to these people. This is
Mhm.
not going to actually sustain us through this next level of growth. This is not what these users need, blah, blah, blah. But
Mhm.
that's what I think about when it's like, why are you still in business? Who's still paying your bills and why is the only way that you can keep trying to compete, because the surface level nonsense and noise that everybody's going to try to do to stay like relevant, especially during this AI bonanza, it's just going to get, it's just completely watered down. So you've got to really get real and honest with yourself about the customers that you're going to be still be able to keep and have success with your product.
Mm. This is a master class, Abby.
I don't know. I don't know, but
I was just zoned in, like dug in like a tick, just hearing things what you're saying, and it's fascinating. Um, this is really good stuff that you've shared. Thank you for that.
for sure.
I guess I want to ask one last question before we head into our wrap. You threw so much at me, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
um, if you were advising well, first off, I don't think you're going to be on the bench for too long. I think that that this
We'll
is going to
see.
get sorted
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But if you were advising a product marketer trying to make that jump from director to the director level, what's the hard truth you tell them about what that transition actually requires?
Yeah. That it's not about you and how good you are anymore. It's about how good your team is and how good your team can be. That was a huge thing. You can be the best product marketer in the world. And if you become a director overseeing a group of product marketers, it's not about you anymore. It's about your ability to get your team the right information, protect their time, hire the right people. And it's about the quality that your team is able to execute. So you've got to be ready to transition from this high performing star that creates all the deliverables, that delivers all the presentation, that is the like face of whatever initiative, and hand that over and be able to delegate effectively and empower effectively your delegates who are out there doing that work more publicly, and you're a little bit more behind the scenes and ought to be at some point to let them actually start to deliver that value and work that you were doing. So that's a huge, very difficult shift because there's so much communication, training, coaching that you have to spend your time doing outside of just doing the product marketing work yourself. If as a director, you're going to be leading a team of marketers, product marketers, which most likely you will be. That was the biggest thing that was really hard for me.
That's such a hard muscle to train, though.
Yeah.
Going from IC to director, where you're like, it's not about you anymore. It's about, like you said, your team,
Yeah.
the people who. It's funny because folks, I used to interview a lot of people, and they would say, "Hey, I want to work for you," and I said, "You don't work for me. You can work with me."
Yeah.
Because if you start to think like that you're working for me and there's some sort of a hierarchy, sure, I'm your manager or
Yeah.
VP, whatever, but we are working together. It is a
Yeah.
team. There is no like you're
Yeah.
beneath me of some sort. The moment you start thinking that, you've lost the game before you even start,
Totally. Yeah.
for the most
Yeah,
part.
totally. And it's really tough to start to deal with like performance issues when somebody needs to exit the team. I had to
Mm.
always be on the lookout for new talent to bring on a players to your team. Like this is something I was not prepared for. Cause again, I'm this loyal person who just, my team is my team, right? This is who we are and it never changes. Well, no, that
No, it changes
doesn't
a
make it
lot.
for a healthy team. It
Yeah.
changes constantly for a myriad of factors. And you have to be like responsible, brave, and ready to make tough decisions for the good of your team. And that's a really big skill to learn.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you so much. This
Yeah,
is great.
thanks
I
a
want
lot.
to move on to our a rapid fire round. Very quick questions, quick
Cool.
answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
Be an owner, not a renter. That was from the former CMO at GetResponse, Ola. She's now the CMO at Certificate. Yeah, no, it was such a really good and succinct message that definitely is a huge motivator and driver for me. Yeah.
Can I know the context in which she said that?
It was definitely like our like marketing charter, I
Oh, I
think,
thought it
like,
was the
our
house.
mission and values. Oh,
Property.
maybe so, but it was like, in your work, the responsibility you have as a marketer on this team is that you're
Mm.
an owner, not a
Oh,
renter, that
that's
you don't
powerful.
just like see problems and like, oh no, like if you see something, do something and say something and own the solution for what it is you come across. And I think that's such wonderful advice. And I
It's very
definitely
well said.
recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to.
Uh, probably from most of my non-working folks, which is don't give yourself away to this job. Don't lose yourself in
Yeah.
this job. Save something for yourself and for the other people that are important to you. That's what I wish I had listened to, and I didn't. Yeah.
Um, Fully
Yeah.
resonate and understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself, your younger self, say 7 or 10 years ago?
Believe in yourself. You're as good as you think, as other people are trying to tell you that you are. Don't require external validation to believe that you are a talented, smart, kind, and good person who is going to do good things. Just believe in yourself and don't require external validation to get it, because it's never going to be enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to skip that question because it's about an ongoing challenge in your current work, but we can tweak it a little bit. Is there an ongoing challenge right now that keeps you up at night?
Right now, I think it is how to be true to yourself in terms of what you want to spend your precious conscious hours doing. That also is obviously something that you can monetize. I wanted to believe that it's not possible to like do something that makes you feel really fulfilled, but also so you have enough money to travel internationally and to like have the freedom financially. And so I just feel I've had a very limited way of thinking about opportunity and success and happiness. And so that's just what I'm wrestling with each day, is to kind of live and think more from abundance, and that where I put positivity and abundance, it will be, versus an incredibly limited and narrow way of thinking, which has made my world incredibly small. And so I want to transition. My challenge now is to transition into abundance and vastness in terms of what's capable and what's out there for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
You're right now in Arkansas, but your favorite restaurant, meal, or spot in Poland?
Ah, that's so good. I got so into Georgian food, like,
Oh, really?
the cuisine from Georgia. It's my favorite cuisine, I would say, especially because it's so cold right now, that was always like this really cozy spot for incredibly like cozy, warm meals. And so I definitely loved Georgian food and restaurants that were in the last city I lived in, which is Poznan.
Right on. Poznan is my favorite city, by the way, in whole of Poland.
It's beautiful.
Like
It's
something about
beautiful.
the Malta Lake where you're just standing right where the folks start rowing. Fantastic scenes all around when you're looking over the city.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A tool that you swear by and can't live without?
Man, I'm going back all in on Notion. Notion is something right now, Notion AI, that, I mean, I've like upgraded my subscription to get full access to Notion AI. It's great. I used Notion back when I was working at CourseDog, then I, had to step away from it when I was working at GetResponse. And now I'm back for my own kind of like, personal and other professional endeavors that I'm working on. And it's amazing. And the Notion AI is legit. I'm canceling some other subscriptions that I had for more bespoke AI tools because their AI solutions are good enough for meeting transcriptions when I'm having calls, summary, so I don't need the call recording anymore, AI solution that I had. And then the documentation is amazing, what it can actually create and progress for you project management wise and documentation wise based on its knowledge of all of your existing. So Notion. I always loved it, and now I love it more.
Yeah, it's a cult, I think, at this point. I mean, it just always has been, but now I'm a huge Notion fan.
Yeah, it's so good.
Fully understand that.
Yeah.
Abby, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
coming on the show, having a chat with me, and sitting down and giving you time. Where can listeners find you?
Definitely on LinkedIn. I am just checking LinkedIn, not as much as usual because I also needed a break. But yeah, LinkedIn, Abby Hehemann. I'm still checking it out there. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there an upcoming project, launch, or talking event that you're excited about?
There is a few things, but nothing I can announce publicly just yet. So I'll put it out there.
Well,
it's there. Yeah.
I'd love to check in to see how things are going. Thank you so much once again for taking the time. This has been an
Thanks
absolute pleasure. Folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.